Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is Kyle, 2K's Kaler, back in the saddle again. What's up, brother?
What up? How's it going?
I tell you what, it was a weird day today. I'm pretty sure we all can agree that yes, we do indeed need the rain, but just kind of made for a weird day. It's kind of made for a weird day. There, let me brighten this picture up a little bit. There we go. But yeah, just wife and I went to church, and then we just sat on the couch. We have a sick puppy, so get well soon, Morgan. She's got she's out of both girls, she's got allergies real bad, so we gave her some Benadryl, and hopefully she's been sleeping pretty much all day. So I have a feeling that'll do her some good. Well, 2K crew, it's good to see you guys and gals. For those of you that are, there are a handful of you watching us either live on YouTube or here on Facebook. Go ahead, if you are on Facebook, go ahead and hop over to the YouTube channel where it's a little bit more fun. Get a little bit more cool stuff available to you. But while you're there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And for those of you on the audio side, thank you for the downloads. We do appreciate it. And you guys are kind of our unsung heroes because we probably get 10 to 1 downloads as opposed to live viewers. Cue the train. Would not be a Turbo and 2K show without the train, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, it's been, I tell you what, 2K, I did the show last week, from their, Tony and the crew here at Patching Remington have been more than awesome for allowing us to go live and kind of do our thing again. So big shout out to them. But yeah, it was kind of cool last week, kind of getting my feet wet and kind of exploring the space, if you will. But there's been a lot of stuff happen between then and now, 2Ks. We've got, last week I kind of ran through, gave the 2K crew some some prizes, some things that stuck out to me, so far in the season. But we've got the NBA in the fight, potentially tomorrow. Could possibly be the end of the NBA season. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to kind of get some of your reactions as far as kind of what's been going on in the MLB scene. But first of all, we're going to talk about Mr. Elly de la Cruz. I don't really think that I've seen kind of someone pop on the scene and just kind of take over and just do his thing and do it so just easy. So easy. And for those of you that don't know who Elly de la Cruz is, he's a shortstop for the Cincinatti Reds. And let me see if I can pull the right tweet up here. Yeah, this is from Ben Verlander. Elly de la Cruz is a 6'5" switch-hitting rookie that has already taken the baseball world by storm since his call-up with his freakish power. And we found out today, it was either today or yesterday, 2Ks, dude hits a ground ball to the first baseman and legs it out. Yeah. So he says he's also one of the fastest players in baseball. He is absolutely incredible. And yeah.
That to me, that's the amazing thing about him is he's doing this in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When's the last time that anybody has talked about Cincinnati baseball outside of the state of Ohio?
They don't even talk about Cincinnati baseball in Ohio.
Yeah, true. So for him to be doing it there, and he's the 5-tool player. He does it.
Yeah.
He does everything. He hits for power. We've seen some balls come off his bat at 115 plus. He runs. Obviously, we might be talking about maybe the fastest guy in baseball.
According to him, he's the fastest man on earth.
I saw that, and you know what? I like the confidence.
Yeah.
Some people might call it a little bit of cockiness, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And so far, he's got the game to back it up.
He's definitely the fastest guy in the MLB right now. Right now, hands down. And I did pull up his current stats here, 2Ks. And let me make this a little bigger. That's what she said. Mr. De La Cruz has been in 6 games since his call-up. And 2K crew, I kind of hinted at this. I was kind of curious to see when the Reds were going to make this move. 6 games. He had 22 at-bats. 8 hits in those 22 at-bats, 2Ks. 7 runs, He has a homer, a triple, a double, and the rest are singles. And he also has 3 stolen bases. And so far to start out his major league career, is batting .364, which ironically enough is leading the Reds, of course. Kind of the Steer, the first baseman, would probably be the leader in the clubhouse if you actually had as like everyday starters.
Sure.
Followed closely by Jonathan India, who's a stud in and of his own. I mean, for those of you that haven't followed him, it's kind of hard to get a lot of pub when you are a second baseman. I get that. But he's hitting .275, 7 homers, which looks like it's second on the team behind Steer. But this is something that you hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head that I'm pretty sure the last time we talked about the Reds, sure, Joey Votto was still there. I remember like Tony Phillips, Bronson Arroyo. It was probably the last time this team really made a push and was actually kind of garnering some pub. And now, with this kid, 2Ks, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's a shorter list of what this kid can't do than what he can do. And we kind of saw a player, same position, same division, pretty much the same size. The only difference is that O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates is not a switch hitter. I'm pretty sure Pirates fans and just the Pirates team overall would really love for him to be back. That was one of the things I talked about last week was you and I both when it comes to the Pirates, we're like, all right, O'Neal Cruz is done. This team's done. They kind of proved us wrong, and then they kind of proved us right. And now they're starting
to play better again.
Yeah, they're tied for the lead in that really crappy division. Both the AL and NL Central are kind of dog shit, for lack of better terms. But yeah, it's I'm super excited. I pursue highlights of this kid because I mean, why wouldn't you?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you? You know, speaking of O'Neal Cruz last year, I mean, he had in the same game was clocked at like 98 miles an hour, throwing it over from shortstop to first, and then hits a ball like 115 miles an hour for a home run. And speaking of home runs, this kid's first home run, I'm pretty sure hasn't landed yet. That was just a tank job, just an absolute tank job. So, what are your thoughts, kind of, so far with Elly?
Well, I mean, the hype was there. Obviously, we've been talking about this for 2-3 weeks before the actual call up took place, and and just for like people like you and I who are into the card collecting, and it was about. I mean, last year we already started talking about the De La Cruz first Bowmans and how, and then this year it started to amp up about a month ago. People were saying to get him ready, and I mean he's just taken this and in my opinion so far, I mean it's a very short stint so far, but he's ran with it. Oh, yeah. I mean he's looking like he could fit right in as probably an all-star in the game right now. Yeah. And then just I mentioned how he's doing all this in Cincinnati. Well, there's a lot to look forward to in Cincinnati. I'm looking at some of the stats here, and we obviously knew Jonathan India is a bigger name. He's done it now for over a year. Very good player. The Steer kid, very good, another very good player. Stevenson, the catcher, T.J. Friedel, and out in center field, and they're all under the age of 25.
That's amazing.
And then the pitching, they have 3 pitchers that are 3 studs who haven't yet lived up to it, but they're all under the age of 23, 24, and I'm talking to Hunter Green, who was a very high draft pick, and Nick Lodolo, same thing, first-round draft pick. And the other one, last name Ashcraft, another high draft pick that they're super high on, super young. So this is a team that maybe could sneak up on some and make a run for it or something. They have the talent there. They're very young, but give it some time. And now you add a guy like Cruz, who is, I mean, this is what a team like this needs, is a guy that you can bank on, that's going to bat you, going to bring the excitement, going to bat you close to 300, going to hit for power, because that's kind of what they've been lacking, is that true power hitter that can make things happen. And from what I said, you can go through all of baseball, and there's probably 7, 8 guys in all of baseball that are generational players. I'm talking your Ronald Acuñas, your Juan Sotos, your Mike Trouts, your Shohei Ohtani's, Aaron Judge. This is a guy right here that 21 years old. We've only watched him for 6 games. He's going to be. I think you're going to be adding him to that list of generational players that you just don't see very often in Major League Baseball. There's only a handful every single season. So, yeah, if I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm very, very excited that I get to watch this kid now for however many years.
And to kind of continue that point, I mean, could you imagine this guy as a wide receiver? Because he's not a tall, lanky kid. He's very well put together, and yeah, I honestly think the sky's the limit with this guy. And when you look at Cincinnati as a whole, all those prospects you just said that are trending in the right direction. Add to that a division that is so weak right now that and since they brought this kid up, they've won ball games. Mm-hmm. They've won ball games. So is it completely out of the realm to think that this team might make a run at the division?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I can't imagine that Pittsburgh's going to stay playing the same caliber of baseball that they've played so far. I mean, just look at their track record. Mm-hmm. And if you compare especially now adding Cruz into this with Cincinnati, if you compare the lineups, I got to give the nod to Cincinnati over them. 100%. And then Milwaukee's just been solid for 5-6 years now, but they just can't get over that hump. They can get to the playoffs, but they can't win any series in the playoffs. And it's an aging lineup. I think it's a team that you look at Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and I think they're young and they're up and coming, and I think they're ready to take that division by storm. To where I think Milwaukee is going to start to. I think they're going to start to disappear in it. We watched it this weekend. They get swept by the A's. I mean, Oakland, arguably one of the worst teams of all time.
Oh. No, they statistically are.
Yeah, and they sweep Milwaukee this weekend. So
Oakland's won 5 straight games.
Oakland's turning it around, and then I'm sitting up here bashing them, and my Tigers have lost 9 straight games. So
oh yeah, oof.
I think the last time I was recording here with you, they were a game back from Minnesota, and maybe a game back from 500, and now all of a sudden they're 10 games back from 500.
Yeah, but they're still 5.5 back 2Ks. The Twins nor anyone else in that division is running away with anything by far.
No,
by far.
But one team that has been playing better the last week or so is the White Sox. The White Sox 100%. Have started turning around, are playing better. And the Twins and Cleveland just kind of stale up there, and can't really get hot or anything like that. They're just kind of playing consistent 500 baseball. I don't expect it to happen. I think with the White Sox, but can they get hot and cut that gap down? I mean, the White Sox have some talent.
Can they stay healthy?
And we're also coming up on a trade deadline here, and not that we still have a month and a half until that point, but to me, with the White Sox is they need to figure out are they going to keep trying to roll with this, or are they going to start this over? And I think that they're probably leaning more on we got to start this process over.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100%
and honestly, but the thing is, if you look at all 5 teams in the Central, they're probably all needing to start shit over.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly,
one of those teams gets to be a playoff team. So
yes. I mean that is kind of inevitable. Inevitable. Well, let's kind of tie a bow on this Elly De La Cruz talk. I mean, we've sat here and pretty much gargled his dick the whole time. But the reason why, and we are not alone by any means. We are not alone. I do have a couple more tweets here. And I wanted to put this one on here just because of the guy who tweeted it. Drunk guy who bets. Good on you. The show did follow this guy, so I can't wait to see. I mean, this guy has to be electric with a name, drunk guy who bets. It says Elly De La Cruz made us money today. Cheers, and should be a household name by now. The 6'5" switch hitting rookie for the Reds is the next MLB superstar. He's fast. Plus, I mean, drunk guy who bets 2Ks. I mean, put the nail in every single head here. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that you can argue in this tweet at all. So I've got one more here. This is from Valley Sports Cincinnati. There's no issue at all. We're moving forward. We're chilling. Elly De La Cruz is making his first week in the major leagues in stride. De La Cruz reached 4 times today with 2 runs, a stolen base, and an RBI. He sits safely in all 6 games. I have a feeling with this guy, we're going to see a lot of this hasn't happened since, or this hasn't happened at all in the history of baseball, as this guy continues to kind of further his career. And I, for one, am extremely stoked to watch it happen. Extremely stoked. So 2K Crew, if you don't know who Elly De La Cruz is, I suggest you, A, get out from the rock that you live under and start paying attention, because this kid, you're going to hear his name for quite a while. Well, 2Ks, we kind of wandered it. You know, we dipped our toe into the kind of the MLB scene overall. There's a couple things that I want to get your take on, and you kind of mentioned about your Tigers. I do have a tweet about them. This is from Barstool Detroit. If you are watching live, it's a picture of a shirt that says "Sell the Team" in the Tigers font. And if you are a Tigers fan and do want to purchase one of these, they are available on store.barstoolsports.com, and I'm sure you can find your way in to buy one of these gems. And it kind of does tell a narrative here, 2Ks, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure new ownership would fix this team, as opposed to the spot they were put in by past management is pretty much all to blame right now.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it. I'm not on this, jumping on this sell the team idea. Look, it's a different. Obviously, there's no more Illich. It moves on to his son, Chris Illich, who has proven that he's not willing to spend the money that his dad was willing to do. Well, his dad wasn't willing to spend the money until about that last 6-7 years of it. You know, you bring Dave Dombrowski over, who obviously he's a go for it all GM. He does not really care for what goes on in the farm system. It's all about the major leagues club, and we're going to spend money and make really, really aggressive deals. And they did it, and they tried to win one, and unfortunately they didn't win one. But as far as the names and the contracts that they were willing to sign, there was no limit on it. They were going to spend, however, they were going to spend the same way that the Yankees were. They were going to spend the same way that like we look at the Dodgers now. Like, they were willing to throw money out, and they tried for it. And now we're starting a kind of the next generation, and it's unfortunately it's been a combination of Dombrowski sold everything as far as the farm system, so they had nothing, and then you handed it over to somebody that had no experience. No experience at all, and he made it worse. Yeah. And we allowed it to happen for 6-7 years, and it just kept on getting worse. And I think we've started trying to rebuild about 3 or 4 different times, but we haven't really gotten off of stage 1 of the rebuild. Yeah. And now we changed up everything going into this season, so we're starting that rebuild again from scratch, and it's not. I don't know, like, these people that say sell the team or the Tigers are not willing to spend any money. I don't know what you want. Like, you have to start that foundation. So, like, even before the Tigers started to spend money, they started a foundation where you had a Justin Verlander to build yourself around. Like, that team, like, when if you go back to 2006 when they went to the World Series, like, you had Verlander coming up and just starting to take off. You had a Curtis Granderson that you brought all the way up through. You had Craig Monroe, who, you know, another system player that came all the way up through, and he was a significant player on that team, and it wasn't like he was a all-star or anything like that. But you had 5-6 guys Brandon Inge, Jeremy Bonderman. I mean, just more and more names that you can keep on naming off. And then when you got that, you know, that nucleus to build around, then it was, now we're going to make the deal and bring Pudge over. Now we're going to sign Maglio Ordonez and bring him in. That was when we're going to bring Carlos Guillen in to push towards. If that's when they started spending the money and bringing guys in, but you still had to. Like, what the fuck do the Tigers have young that you want to go spend money around? Like we tried it last year because we had this hope that Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson were going to be their top 5 draft picks, so they got to be phenomenal players, even though they're 22 years old. They're ready to go. So we got to spend money. So they go out and they sign a deal for Eduardo Rodriguez, who pitched 8 games last year.
If that, yeah.
And then it was like there was 4 shortstops out there, and the Tigers thought, well, we got to get one of these shortstops. We got to get one of them. Well, they chose to go with Javi Baez, who has been just an absolute fucking disgrace
It's been terrible.
since he signed that contract with Detroit. Fucking horrible. There's nothing that he does good for that team at all. I thought when they made that deal, like, okay, we're bringing in a guy he won a World Series with Chicago. Not that he was one of the best players, but he knows what it takes to be on an up and coming team. It was like that because he came all the way up through with the Cubs. They went through their losing days where they were the fucking Tigers of the league, and then they were able to keep on hitting on these draft picks and work their way up. And he was a part of that. And so I thought maybe this will be a decent signing. Well, he's been fucking terrible. He does nothing. He plays mediocre defense.
Strikes out a ton.
He strikes out all the fucking time. He chases everything. I think he's hit 3 home runs this year. He's probably got somewhere in the teens for RBIs. He's batting under 230. Like
That's crazy.
So my thing is, what do you want the Tigers to do? Like what move? What are these? They have to keep on just trying to get themselves out of this hole. They have to keep on trying to draft smart. They have to keep on trying to sign these prospects from these young prospects and hope that you hit on 1 or 2 of them. They have to just keep on. You have to trust your scouting department. You have to trust everybody that's involved. You have to trust all the new management that they have in there. They're not going to do this shit in a year. Like they walked into this dumpster fire that Alavila created. The last thing that they need to do right now is just start throwing fucking money all over the place in contracts because they tried it last year and it didn't fucking work.
You just end up right back where you were with all these really big contracts and still going nowhere.
Yeah. And for a month this season, Eduardo Rodriguez pitched phenomenal. And that was probably the time to fucking trade him because now he's hurt and
Still leading the league in ERA though.
still a chance that he comes back. And the only thing that I'm hoping for is that he comes back and throws really, really good baseball for a couple weeks, and then they can fucking trade him for something.
Come on over to Boston.
Trade him.
Over to Boston.
Trade him. Because what is Eduardo Rodriguez going to do
Nothing.
for that team right now?
Nothing.
They're so far away from being able to compete for anything. So, I read things, and it's the same people that are sell the team. Well, you don't know shit about baseball. You definitely don't know shit about building an organization because what's the fucking point of keeping this guy around that's going into age 30 season? How much longer is he going to do this? He didn't pitch at all hardly last year. He hasn't been healthy for this year for very long. He threw 4 really good starts, and that's it. Then he threw 2 or 3 pretty mediocre starts before he ended up on the IL. So to me, you have to trade him. You have to trade him, especially with some of these younger pitchers coming back. That unfortunately, the Tigers have set them up in a place where you have to ride and die on these guys. We drafted Casey Mize. We drafted Tariq Skubal. We drafted Alex Faedo. We had all these young pitchers. That's what they've put. They put all their eggs in that basket.
Yep.
So they have all been hurt, and Skubal's probably going to be back in the next week or so. The Brisket kid who pitched decent last year, he's probably going to be back in the next week or so. Faedo he's on the IL right now, but he's probably going to be back pretty soon. Casey Mize, we have to expect, is not going to be back at all until next year.
Why rush him?
But exactly. But you have to trust in that.
Exactly.
And until you can start taking off and get something going, and Torkelson and Green can prove that they're going to be good Major League Baseball players, there's no point of putting any money into this shit.
No.
You're not going to go. The Tigers aren't going to go and make huge deals and sign two max contracts and going to change shit around. Like there's a long way to go before they get to that point.
I 100% agree, and kind of as an outsider looking in, because now that Fox Sports Detroit is no longer a thing, and I don't get Bally Sports, I really don't get to see the Tigers that much.
Yeah, and fuck Major League Baseball for that too, because they are the worst sport.
But blackout?
Yeah. We get blessed one game a week of listening to these ass wipes on ESPN. Yeah. And Major League Baseball is such a fucking failure as far as the talent. I mean, I'm just going to keep going on this rampage because the Tigers pissed me off and now I'm hot. But the talent level of what we have as far as for Major League Baseball players, there's 9-10 guys in baseball right now that are some of 9-10 of the best players that have ever fucking picked up a wooden bat and a glove and walked out on that field. And there's no exposure for them because Major League Baseball fucking fails over and over and over again. The shit wouldn't be acceptable with the NFL. No. Shit wouldn't be acceptable in the NBA with Adam Silver. But for Major League Baseball, they over and over and over find a way to fuck it up. And that's why it's the worst fucking sport. To me, in my heart, it's my favorite sport.
Sure.
But it's the worst professional sport there is, watching these dipshits year in and year out find ways to fuck it up.
But yeah, we're closer to Chicago than we are Detroit, yet we don't get Cubs games blacked out. We don't get White Sox games blacked out. But we sure as hell get Tigers games blacked out. But did I expect this team to do great things coming into the season? Not really. But in my opinion, I think they're doing better than what I even thought they would. Did I think it was going to be a frustrating year for you 2Ks? Absolutely.
It's been a frustrating decade for me.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? They've lost 9 games in a row. You go back 2 weeks ago, and honestly, they were playing really good baseball. Yeah. They really were. Injuries. And it's you take Riley Green out of this lineup and what he was doing, and he's kind of the catalyst, and they go off of him, and so you take him out of the lineup, and then where would this team be? I know you can sit here and come up with excuses, but where would this team be if Casey Mize was pitching from the beginning of the season and Tariq Skubal was pitching from the beginning of the season? I mean, those are two very, very good pitchers that the Tigers are putting this shit show out there of all these guys that you really had never heard of, and starting guys in the bullpen, and because they're trying to piece together what little bit they can. And you go back 2 weeks before they went on this 9-game losing streak, they were a game back. They were a game back from Minnesota. They were a game or two from being 500. Like, they were playing pretty good baseball. And I think, and so that's part of this rant is this is coming off of watching your team lose 9 in a row. That's why I'm kind of going on this rant tonight where I'm not happy about it. They led the game all day today, and then they found a way to lose it. And it's just that's what bad teams do is they find ways to lose games, especially close games like today.
Well, I can honestly say 2Ks that your Tigers play better defense than my Red Sox do. Yeah. The Red Sox have been playing atrocious defense, and a little bright side here, 2Ks. Your team's 5.5 back. My team's 14.5 back. 14.5. Because that's going to take us right into the next topic here. You and I have talked about the Rays over and over again. This monumental start that they've went on. But let's talk about the team that's 5.5 games back of them. Let's talk about the Orioles. This is from K&B at Casnosball on Twitter. Baltimore Orioles in 2023. First team in the MLB to 20 road wins. 40-24, best start in franchise history. This is a franchise, 2Ks. It's been around for quite a while. Quite a while. They have their history is littered with Hall of Famers. Potentially 3+ All-Stars, the best catcher in baseball, the 2 best relievers in baseball, all with the second lowest payroll in baseball. And I have a feeling if they're the second lowest 2Ks, I have a feeling the A's would indeed be the lowest. And you and I at your house Googled the Tampa Bay Rays payroll last night, and believe it or not, 2K crew, the dude making the highest is making the most money on the Rays is $11 million a year. And he's one of their starters. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. You would think as the host of this show I would have that for you, but kind of going off the cuff here. So let's bring this tweet back up here, 2Ks, and let's kind of dissect it here a little bit. potentially 3+ All-Stars. You got Mountcastle. Do you think they have the best catcher in baseball right now?
I don't know if he's the best catcher in baseball right now. He's definitely got the most potential of any catcher. He's definitely, and give it another year or two, and hands down, he's the best catcher in all of baseball.
We're talking about Adley Rutschman.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue it. It's hard to argue it. I mean, I'm trying to think in my head.
The only one that I could say that probably right now is kind of the leader in the clubhouse as far as best catcher in baseball is Realmuto.
That's what I was gonna say. Just because he's done it for a long time now, it's not. He's been in the league and doing this for 7-8 years. Like, yeah, he's probably the one that I consider the best. But yeah, Adley Rutschman is going to be an absolute stud, and we'll see. I'm curious with him because he's so good at the plate. Is it going to kind of be like? Did you learn, from watching Joe Mauer in Minnesota? Like, do you want to let him waste away back there behind the dish? Because you can move him out to first base, and you can guarantee he's going to stay a lot healthier, and you can guarantee he's going to play a lot longer. And when you have a bat like that, I think it's probably a smart thing to look into is finding the way that we're going to be able to keep him on the field the longest.
Absolutely. And one thing I did want to get in here, 2K crew, before I forget. Congratulations, Andrew McCutchen. His 2,000th hit today. And I think it's kind of cool, 2K, is he was able to do it for the organization he hit his first one with. And came back to the Pirates this year. Obviously is not the McCutchen of old when, he was winning MVPs there, had the dreads. I mean, he was electric. He was must-watch TV back then, and kind of put the Pirates on his back. I mean, ever since his decline or start to decline, and then they parted ways. This Pirates team hasn't sniffed success since. So this is kind of cool. That, granted, like I said, he's not going to be the garnering any MVP votes this year, but it's kind of cool to see him back in the Pirates uni. Sure. And if this is his last hurrah, then, I mean, I'm not saying he's a first ballot Hall of Famer by any means, but he could sneak in there one day for sure, just because of the dominant force that he was for 3, 4, 5 years. But Kutch, good on you, dude, and you've always been a class act on and off the field. So much earned 2,000 hits. 2,000 hits.
And one thing too, getting back to Baltimore, and speaking of Adley Rutschman, and it seems like he gets all the kudos there as the big time rookie, but I think people forget about Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
And just what he did last season at the end of the season, and then going into this year, and they were talking about him all through the offseason, like he's a favorite to possibly win Rookie of the Year this year, and he got off to just a terrible start. Well, this last month or so, maybe about the last 2-3 weeks, he's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball, and you're starting to see the average climb, and you're seeing the home run numbers. I think he's probably getting close to. He might even be over 10 home runs now. I know he's close to that, but he was playing awful at the beginning of the year, and so they have two. Adley Rutschman, yeah, he's an all-star and potentially the best catcher in the game, but Gunnar Henderson's another. Let's not forget about him. He's an absolute stud, and so for this team to be 17 games over 500 and have him not play up until this last couple of weeks, the way that we're used to seeing him play, or the way that we know that he can play, I'm gonna say my bold statement right now is that the Orioles catch Tampa by the end of the year. Ooh. And that the Orioles win this. I think the Orioles are a better team. I think Tampa has better pitching.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But as far as lineup, and the Orioles pitching's no slouch. They're young and they're up and coming. But I think this Orioles lineup just gets hot as the weather starts to heat up and we get into the dead of the summer here. I think this O's team passes them.
And to answer your question, Gunnar has 9 home runs. He's second on the team. But yeah, the Orioles are 5.5 games back. 5.5 games back. And one of the things I talked about last week, 2Ks, is that the difference in run differential from the Rays to the Orioles is over 100 runs right now. Not to say that that means, one team's better than the other one. It's just, it's kind of astonishing. And I also did something, because the Rangers lead the league in run differential. Now they're down to plus 149. And the A's were over 200, which in their 5-game winning streak, they've kind of cut that back. They're minus 194. Obviously the worst number in the league. But there was a win differential of like 370 runs compared to those two.
This is so crazy. I'm like, as we're talking, I'm looking at stats, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's probably other teams, maybe not other teams that are as deep as this, but I look at the Tigers, and and just how many home runs. Like, I'm just looking at their leader on the team in home runs is.
Rogers with 8.
Yeah. Jake Rogers with 8 home runs. And the next guy is Nick Maton, who has 6. Either one of these guys are really everyday players. They're kind of just platoon players. They're not considered like they're everyday guys. Mm-hmm. So they have one guy with 8 home runs, and the next guy, second on the team, has 6. And then they have a lot of guys that have 2 and 3. Fucking Javi Baez, 4. Like, what a joke. And then I was just looking at Baltimore. They have 8 guys that have over 7 home runs. Mm-hmm. 8 guys. Their leader is Mountcastle with 11. But then they have 5 guys with over 8. Mm-hmm. Like, and people want the Tigers to spend money, sell the team, but there's nothing here to build around. Nothing. Fucking Torkelson. He's supposed to be the guy. Do I think he's going to be a good baseball player? Yeah. 5 home runs at this point in the season? It's fucking unacceptable. Mm-hmm. It's unacceptable. All there is to it. Like, when are you going to get over that peak? Like, if you're a first pick of a draft. Mm-hmm. It's just. Adley Rutschman isn't. We're not wondering about him.
Nope. And you hit the nail right on the head. And it is kind of sad to say that, especially when those 2 guys were number 1 overall picks in back-to-back years, mm-hmm. right? And do I think that in a perfect world, Torkelson probably wouldn't be up until like next year?
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. Get a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying it's a dire situation, but it's more like a fuck it, let's just see what we got, mm-hmm. and kind of live with the growing pains. Whereas with the Orioles, Rutschman came up last year, mm-hmm. so he had a little bit more time.
Sure.
And especially, you would think if one of them's going to struggle worse than the other one offensively, it's going to be Rutschman because he catches. Mm-hmm. And all the extra responsibilities and things like that go onto the catcher's plate, you would think that if there was an excuse for a slow start or something like that.
And it's like, when Rutschman came up and made his debut, it was like, it looks like this guy's played for 3 or 4 years in the league. Mm-hmm. And Torkelson comes up and he looks like a deer in headlights. Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't like, I get it. They forced him up too soon, mm-hmm. or and they kind of had to, because there was 8 people at the ballpark to watch the Tigers play, and they had to, and you can't. How can you just keep on raving about these minor leaguers when the major league club is as bad as they've been? So they, you have to move them through the system. But it wasn't like he was playing like shit down there, because he forced his way up. Like, he was hitting home runs, he was hitting for power, he was hitting for average. Do I expect that Torkelson's going to be a 300 hitter? No. But he's got to hit 20 home runs. He's got to hit 25, 30 home runs as he gets older. 5 home runs at this point in the season, it's unacceptable.
And the Red Sox have something very similar in Bobby Dahlbeck. Mm-hmm. So, and Bobby's even been down in the minors longer than Tork.
Yeah.
And it seemed, because right now, Dahlbeck is hitting the daylights out of the ball down in AAA. Mm-hmm. and is for whatever reason he makes the transition.
And they,
Has a couple 3 or 4 good games in a row, and you're like, all right, this is the guy. This is the guy he's supposed to be. And then he just takes a nosedive right off a cliff. And especially with that position, you know, in the Red Sox organization, because Tristan Cassis is playing better, way better than than Dahlbeck was. And add on top of it, well, they've got Blaze Jordan right behind him.
sure.
So as far as depth is concerned, first base is very deep for the Red Sox. Shortstop, I think with the Red Sox, it's when does Marcelo Mayer come out? Because he's absolutely torching. He just got moved up to Double-A this week, I think the middle of this week. And first or second at bat, hits a 3-run home run. And I don't care what stage you're on. If you can field, you can field.
Sure.
It's just more or less getting kind of used to the speed of the pitches, the tilt and everything else like that. But which, as a Red Sox fan, makes me feel like, yes, you know, we're not where we want to be right now. But at least there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
And as a Tigers fan, I have a feeling the light at the end of your tunnel is hoping everyone comes back from injuries and kind of performs the way they should. And I think if they do, then you do have that young core that potentially could make a run. And I really don't see, especially considering the offseason of all of the 5 teams here in this division. The Twins made the biggest splash in re-signing Correa, and he's been dog shit. So Twins fans feel the Tigers' pain when it comes to a big-ticket shortstop completely shitting the bed.
And one team out there goes and grabs 2 of them, and they grab the 2 best ones.
Yeah.
And Texas makes out like a bandit out of that and signs 2 guys, makes one of them their shortstop and one of them their second baseman, and probably the best middle infield in all of baseball.
Yeah, which you would think that with all the shortstops on the Padres that they would be they'd be kind of, I don't know, just kind of taking the world by storm. But let's switch gears here from our teams to kind of some shocking teams that I kind of pointed out last week. Do the Padres stink, 2Ks? They're 31 and 34.
I can't figure them out.
9 games back, and to me, they're one of the biggest shocks of this season. Maybe a little less. I'm more shocked that the Padres are below 500 at this point in the season, and the Diamondbacks are 3.5 games up on the Dodgers. I'm not sure which one I'm more shocked about. But yeah, this Padres team has just been
awful,
mediocre at best.
Awful. I mean, awful is the only thing I can say about it. And you know, I'm a Tigers fan. I've been talking about this now for 10 years, and it's like I'm a broken record. But like, the Padres are the bigger disappointment.
Oh, 100%.
How can you have this lineup? How can you have these names in your lineup and be playing at, you know, okay, 2-3 weeks into the season, we're under 500. We just haven't got it going yet.
Sure.
Okay, well, we're 2.5 months into the season, longer than that. You know, we're getting to the point where we're almost to 3 months, and you're still playing under 500, and you have the name like guys like Juan Soto, that name in your lineup, and Fernando Tatis, and Manny Machado, and Xander Bogaerts, and you got pitching Ian Snell, and you have Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, and
Seems like Musgrove pitches every single game they play.
like, you can't have those names and be a below 500 team. Like we were talking about them being able to get past the Dodgers this year. This was their season. They were better than the Dodgers finally.
Yeah.
They're not even close.
Well,
They're not as good as who the Tigers just got done playing a series with, and the Diamondbacks.
No,
The Diamondbacks are better than the Dodgers right now.
Those snakes are sneaky, dude. They are.
There's a guy over there that we talk about, Elly de la Cruz, and what he does and I get it. It's only been 6 games, but Corbin Carroll has taken that National League MVP or National League Rookie of the Year, and he probably can put his name in there for the MVP ballot too, because that's the kind of player that he is. I don't watch very much Diamondbacks baseball, and I haven't followed it ever really in my life, and it's not like the Tigers play against them very often, being that they're a National League team. Well, I watched pretty much every single game this weekend, and that kid is maybe the best all-around player that I've watched in baseball all season long.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of give you some stats on these big-time names, 2Ks for the Padres. Tatis leads the team in home runs with 12.
Yeah, and didn't even start the season.
He's only played 45 games. Soto has 10. Soto's numbers, I think, are getting back to like the Soto-esque numbers that we're used to. Batting .258, has 6 stolen bases, 32 RBIs, which is tied with Tatis for the team lead. Let's see. He might. Yeah, he's tied with Xander Bogaerts for the team lead in hits, and Bogaerts is kind of doing his thing. I mean, if they didn't sign Xander to lead the team in home runs, they didn't sign him to lead the team in batting average, even though he's tied for second in batting average at .258. Tatis is leading as far as everyday players at .272. Eight stolen bases. So we've kind of seen Fernando Tatis Jr. after the suspension be the Fernando Tatis that we saw prior to that. And yeah, it just seems like this team, for whatever reason, and we've kind of heard some chirpings that Bogaerts, or not Bogaerts, but yeah, there really isn't any leadership in the locker room. I don't know how true that is.
It seems to be the story every time that you have a team that's underperforming.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
we were talking they were just talking about that being the issue and with the Mets. You know, the Jason Kipnis story where he comes out and that was the story. It's the leadership thing. No,
Yeah.
This is the leadership. Talk about it however the fuck you want. You have how many millions of dollars right here in the names that we just named off, and not one of them is batting even close to 300.
No.
Tatis is really the only one that I'm not even going to talk about right now. Soto's at 10 home runs, but batting .258, unacceptable. Manny Machado, we haven't even mentioned that name, but this is a guy that he's a free agent, right? At the end of the season, does Machado hit the?
I believe either he's a free agent
or he has an opt-out,
or can opt out. Yes.
So this is a huge season for him, and he's been just complete dog shit. I mean, dog shit, batting .240.
Yeah, the
power numbers down. Manny Machado at this point, 6 home runs, and that lineup with all that protection around him.
Yeah,
6 home runs.
I mean, rewind this time last year, we were talking about him as an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if he took the vote right then and there after the third of the season mark, he would have won it, hands down, running away. And I don't know if there's some injuries lingering with him, but the Baseball is Dead crew talked about most valuable player, most improved player this year compared to the least improved player, and Machado was second least improved, only behind Jose Abreu. So, and both those guys are not. It's not like they're very cheap options. So, the good part is that there's plenty of season left to kind of. There is a chance to turn most of these ships around. Not all of them, but most of them. But that Padres team with those names, they are. Something's got to happen, whether it's a player-only meeting. Yeah. Get your head out of your ass and let's stop sucking.
The thing we watched it for years with the Yankees. You know, the Yankees used to just go out and try to win, just to buy that championship. And the thing I don't like about it is, you get all these players that you just expect them. You expect it. We expect Soto to hit 30-plus home runs. We expect Tatis to hit 30-plus home runs. We expect Machado to be a 30-home-run guy. And so when you manage that kind of a team, you just expect those things to happen. Like, wow, we're not going to try to manufacture runs here because we can't take the bat out of Soto's hands. We got, it's always that, get runners on base and then we're going to hit a home run. And if you manage at that style, I think it hurts you when you have too many really, really good players instead of having a couple really good players, and then mix those with guys that are hungry, guys that can manufacture, guys like, I hate to just keep on bringing this guy up, but that Corbin Carroll, like, he can do everything. He's getting on the bases, and he's in the pitcher's head because he's bouncing all over the place over there. He's stealing bases like Ronald Acuna. You know, we don't talk about him because he's in Arizona. He's batting over 300. He's got he's got double-digit home runs. He's got double-digit stolen bases. Like, he plays really good outfield, and I think that's what this. We have these stars on San Diego, but we don't really have the players to mix in. And then when you have all these stars and all the pressure comes on, like when the season starts and you're already talking like, this team's better than the Dodgers. Believe it when we see it. We got to wait. They have to show something. They have to show that they, that they can play together as a team and they can do this before we just say, yeah, on paper, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
But they're playing below 500 baseball because I just think it hurts them. It hurts you when you get this, when you're so good on paper that you just feel like you don't really play the game of baseball. You play more of we're just going to wait on one of these guys to step up and make that big hit and hit the home run. And it's not the way you win in baseball games. And it didn't work for the Yankees for, how many years? You had an infield of Teixeira, Cano, Jeter, A-Rod. They didn't win any World Series with that group of four in the infield. They had so much money strapped into it, and you just thought, oh, Jeter gets on base, and one of these guys is going to hit a home run.
Yeah.
Well, when it came down to it, I can remember looking at stats and seeing Teixeira batting 230 with a lot of home runs, but not situational home runs. It's one thing to hit a home run when it's just you. It's another thing to hit a home run when you got Jeter on base and when you got Cano on base, and then you come up and hit that 3-run shot instead of that. Pitchers they're okay with giving single-run shots out. So, and it's a situational baseball game, and I think the Dodgers have done a good job with it because the Dodgers have been loaded over the years, but they've always had that mixture of 3 or 4 guys. Talking guys like Chris Taylor that can get on base, make things happen, and I think you got to have 2 or 3 of those guys on every team in order to make a run and win a World Series. I really do.
And kind of a comparison between the Yankees, the Yankee dynasty that you were talking about, and the Dodgers right now, is they had a group of homegrown guys. You got Tatis and Cronenworth is about the only guys in that whole lineup, and still very young, both of them. Both of them. Where you look at the Yankees, or even the Dodgers, Max Muncy. Granted, they've let Corey Seager walk. They've let some of their key pieces walk, but they're filling it with not extreme huge free agent names like Chris Taylor. First of all, dude always looks like he's dirty, which He's a grinder. That's always a good thing. That's always a good thing. But there's Clayton Kershaw, prime example. That's his team. That's his team, and there really isn't that guy. Where should it be Tatis? Yeah. Has he grown? Has he had time to grow into that role? I don't think so yet.
And even when you look at, the point you just made, when you look at their pitching staff, you got Ian Snell. He'll always be considered a Tampa Bay Ray to me.
Blake Snell.
You got
Darvish.
Yeah, Darvish. He's a Texas Ranger in my you piece together all these different names of guys, and they don't have that true guy that came up like you just talked about. The Dodgers, Kershaw. How many years has he been there? And the thing with the pitching, the Dodgers have brought all these pitchers up.
Oh yeah.
Through their system. It's not like they've went out and signed major pitchers. They may have made a trade. When you go back to what they brought they had Scherzer, right? When they made the trade there to bring him in, but for the most part, you're talking Walker Buehler. That's a guy that came all the way through the system. Dustin May, another Urias. All of those guys came up through the system.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it with San Diego, but that's the only thing I can think of is I think you get caught up in these names and you throw all these names on them and you write them all down on a piece of paper and you're like, this team's unbeaten. We can't beat this team.
It's an all-star team.
But none of these guys have played together. None of these guys have it's you have when you get to this level of Major League Baseball, you have to find other ways to win ball games other than just having guys that should go out there and hit you 30 home runs. Yeah, it's just, and that's where I'm with that. But to me, they're the biggest disappointment in all of baseball. Have to be.
And they're they're 9 games back of the Diamondbacks, and Snakes in their last 10 are 8-2.
They're good.
San Diego's 6-4. Do I think 9 games out at this point in the season is they're done?
No.
Not at all.
No, especially with that team, if they can get anything figured out at all. But
they could go on an 18, 20 game winning streak like that, or they should.
They should, yeah. They should. I mean, to me, with those players and they should be 8-9 games above 500 right now.
Absolutely. And then you look at, I kind of mentioned, or you mentioned, and I talked last week too about the Mets. The Mets and the Padres have very similar records. Padres are 31-34, the Mets are 31-35. Mets are 9.5 games back, and the Mets are sitting there in 4th place in the NL East. And right now, even the Phillies, kind of as up and down as they've been all season. I think right now the 3 teams that are ahead of them are better baseball teams than the Mets, and that's kind of a shame considering And I even saw something across the bottom line earlier today saying that the owner has come out and said that the GM and the manager are safe, and I'm sure that's not a conversation that he was wanting to have at any point in this season, let alone at this point being 4 games under 500. And you can say what you want. I mean, injuries are a part of the game, and they've definitely had their fair share. But I don't know. I think it's too early to still kind of throw in the towel on the Mets and the Padres. But I think it's one of those things that they can't let this gap get any bigger. 9.5 and 9 games. That's a lot of games. That's a lot of games. Yes, you still have plenty of games left with the teams that are above you, but the longer you wait to make your move, the smaller your margin for error is. Well, 2Ks, let's talk a little NBA here. A little NBA. And to be honest with you, I'm actually shocked that the Heat actually won a game.
Yeah, I mean, I was too. And I thought for Game 2, being that it was in Denver, I thought Denver just lost that game themselves. I thought they played flat. There was really nothing good about them, with the exception of with Jokic. He was just typical Jokic. I mean, I think he ended up scoring over 40 points that night and had over 10 rebounds. But he was the only one. Jamal Murray wasn't very good. The rest of the guard, Porter, was not very good. But then they come back out in Game 3 and 4, play the way that they've been playing pretty much through this entire playoff. To me, with this NBA Finals, and I'm probably saying it because I don't really give a shit to talk about the NBA all that much, but there's one team that's here, and there's all the other NBA teams are down here, like Denver, and I think this team's always had the potential to be it. They just never been able to put it all together and be healthy throughout the season. You go back to last year, Jokic coming off winning his 2nd consecutive MVP. And everything is good. Jamal Murray tears his ACL, going into the playoffs. Obviously, they don't have him for that. That team just, they lose it. And then you go the year before that, Porter Jr. is out. He's hurt. They make the trade to bring Aaron Gordon over. Aaron Gordon's hurt. He's not playing. And so just injuries for 2 years in a row have done this. Jokic has been the best player in the NBA for 3 straight years now. Finally, this year, he has all of his team, his supporting cast. Everybody's healthy. Jamal Murray's playing. Jokic is going to win the MVP, hands down. There's no argument there. But if you were to pull everybody in the entire NBA throughout this entire playoffs and all the performances, Jamal Murray's number 2.
Right,
The 2 best players in the NBA playoffs this year are on the same teams. So, as good as Jokic has been, Jamal Murray's been right there with him. This team, they've been amazing to watch. And coming from a guy that doesn't really like to watch NBA basketball that much, I looked forward to watching all those games when they were playing the Lakers in that series because they're just so damn good. And then watching this series now, I don't think Miami's as good of a team as the Lakers were. No. So I think that this has just been kind of I just expect Denver's going to go out there and beat them by 15 points, and I expect Denver to come out and beat them by 15 tomorrow, hoist up the trophy, first Denver Nuggets NBA championship of all time. So it's Sunday right now. Monday, this is going to happen. I'm already giving my congratulations to Jokic and the boys. Yeah, that's there's not much in sports that I'm more confident in saying that than Denver is going to win this finals.
Yeah,
unless something just fucking crazy happens.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I said, I fully expected a sweep on this, and if the Heat were going to win one, I figured it would be Game 3 at home.
Something at home, yeah.
And they looked absolutely ridiculous Game 3. And with that, I'm pretty sure that was the game I watched that Jokic got 5 fouls and had to sit out a good portion of that fourth quarter. And I'm pretty sure he was sitting on 9 rebounds. And
yeah.
there was I'm sure there was a lot of bettors that took him to, which I'm sure him scoring a triple double wasn't, plus a whole lot. Like a lot of players, but pretty sure you were sweating. Pretty sure you were sweating.
I've kind of given up on betting on the NBA. That's a story for another day. I got completely hosed by stats. Whoever takes care of the stats, the NBA stats. They're not on my. They won't be getting anything for Christmas from me this year. I'll tell you that right now. I got absolutely hosed there, so I kind of stopped betting on the NBA. But no, it's and I don't mean any disrespect to Miami because they're so overmatched here. I mean, they're the 8 seed, right?
Yeah.
And so they're a team that
they lost their first play-in game.
Yeah, nobody expected them to be that. They got hot. Jimmy Butler.
They were the hottest team besides the Nuggets.
Yeah.
In all the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what that momentum carried them here.
Yeah.
It goes to show you that they're very well coached.
Oh, absolutely. I think they have the best coach in the NBA. I mean, and that's why they're here. That's why they're playing, in this. And Eric Spoelstra won an NBA championship before, and I get it. Everybody wants to say, well, it's LeBron and all them. He's the best in the biz. I mean, if it's not him, you probably can make an argument for Greg Popovich and everything that he did for so long. But those are the two. Yeah. But Spoelstra to me is and this just sums it up. This team has they don't belong in this finals at all. The only person that would argue that with me is probably Jimmy Butler. And that's just because that's the kind of guy he is.
Himmy buckets.
But they're so overmatched. It's not even funny. I don't think that there's anybody in the NBA this season that can give Denver a run in a 7-game series. Absolutely not. Can you beat them? Yeah, you can beat them once or twice.
Yeah.
Phoenix did it twice. They've done it once. But you're not beating Denver in a 7-game series with Jokic and Jamal Murray healthy on the floor. Not happening.
Our buddy Cody Brazeman chimed in and said, I don't know how he hasn't gotten Coach of the Year in all his time.
Yeah.
Valid point, brother. Valid point. I wish I had a better answer. But no, it's like I said, as far as you being done betting on basketball, you only got one more game.
Yeah. I'll bet on it. I say I'm not going to, but fuck it. Fuck it's the last one. Well, but the thing I look forward to the most with the NBA season coming to a wrap is we're getting this much closer to football season.
Yes.
And as much as I love baseball, when it comes to just a podcast, just give me material to talk on. Nothing better than football.
Well, that and your college football team is relevant.
Yeah.
Whereas your baseball team isn't.
Yeah. I mean,
my baseball team.
Michigan football is the only thing is the only thing running anything right now. Dallas is just a pile of shit every year in the NFL. They fool you. They talk you in. This is going to be the year, and then by week 5 or 6, Dak leads the league in interceptions, and it's the same Dallas team that we watch year in year out. And Michigan basketball, they've went back. They're not good, and things are not good there. Juwan Howard needs to figure it out. Detroit Tigers baseball is absolutely awful. Pistons basketball is maybe we'll see.
TBD.
They got about the worst possible news that they ever could have gotten with the draft.
They got pick 5
lottery. Yeah, they come out of that with pick number 5. Not good.
No.
Not good. But Cunningham ought to be back
Yeah.
healthy. I love the new hire as far as the head coach and the
100%.
coaching staff that he's surrounding himself with, and then having all this young talent. So I like to think that they're maybe heading in the right direction. We'll see. But yeah, it's being a sports fan in the state of Michigan right now is not an easy thing unless you're just banking on the Wolverines, because the Wolverines they got it going on.
Just think if you're a Spartans fan.
Yeah, and Spartans fan, and then you just Spartans, Tigers. I like the Red Wings. I like that would be a rough life. But you know what? The Lions too. Lions are turning things around.
Mm-hmm.
They're turning things around. I don't know if I'm. A lot of people are saying they're gonna win. They're gonna win that division, and I think that you have an
Got the best
argument there.
opportunity to.
Rodgers is not in Green Bay anymore. The Bears still suck. Vikings are. I can't imagine the Vikings are going to be as good as what they've been, but they still. The Vikings are just always the Vikings. They never really suck. They just kind of play.
Cody says that Julius Randle got to go. We put up the best fight against the Heat, though. You're right. His Knicks.
I agree with the Julius Randle got to go statement. He's just not the. He's not the answer. He's not he's not something that you build around for a championship caliber team. Jalen Brunson's a freaking stud, though.
I'm watching. It's I believe it's the top of the 8th. Red Sox Yankees. It's 2-1. Oh, Sox got guys on second and third, one out. Let's go. Let's go. Well, 2Ks. Let's jump into our top 5 here, brother. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Tonight we're doing the. What did I say it was?
Top 5 baseball players all time. Favorite
Yep.
baseball players, not necessarily the best.
All right. That's what I thought it was. I just wanted to double check. And the reason this kind of came about was, we're talking about Elly Cruz. Quite possibly, fast forward 5-10 years, he might make it on this list. But I have a feeling you and I are going to have the same number 1. Just because.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think I know who your number 1 is, and I think if it is, he's my number 2.
Okay. So we will have a little difference here. But 2Ks, who is your number 5 favorite baseball player ever to watch? I think is the way we probably should.
Yeah,
work.
number 5. He's the only player that's going to be on here that's going to come off of this team, because I absolutely despise the team that he played his entire career for. But he's a hometown guy. Played the same position. People might know him as the captain. Played the same position for the same team his entire career. Derek Jeter. Just all-time pro, man. Just all-time pro. Hall of Famer. One of the best to ever do it. Defensively, not top tier defensively, but career 300 hitter, well over 3,000 hits. And then to do it all in maybe the toughest franchise of all time to play through, and definitely in that time when he was playing, that was probably the hardest franchise in all of sports to be a part of. Not only be a part of, but to be the captain.
Yeah.
And to play your entire career there with more pressure than probably anybody in any sport.
Never got into any trouble off the field.
Yeah. And then, came from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So Derek Jeter, number 5.
Unless you look on the back of his baseball card. I want to give a big shout out to my cousin Sandy. She says, hey, cuz, Bears do suck. I'm not a fan, but I'm always hopeful. Well, yeah, I am a fan, and they do suck, but I think we're definitely not going to suck as much as we did last year. All right, you're number 4, 2Ks.
Number 4, I named my son after him.
Like it?
I named my son after him just because this dude, when I think of him, just flat out tough as hell, blue collar, hard nose, just Nolan Ryan. All-time leading strikeouts. Just insane. Workhorse. Give him the ball. He's going to strike you out. He's probably going to bean 3 or 4 of your guys.
Maybe get in a fight.
Probably going to fight you. Beat the shit out of Robin Ventura.
Yes.
When he was, in his mid-40s, and Ventura was 23, 24 years old.
In a headlock.
That's the biggest. It's no. For the people that really know me, I named my son Nolan because that's what I wanted. Just a hard-nosed, blue-collar name, and to me, Nolan Ryan was. So he cracks my top 5. I have him at number 4.
Love it. Can't argue one bit. Number 3.
Number 3, Talked about him a little bit earlier when I was talking about the Tigers. Justin Verlander. Just
I dig it.
love him. Absolute stud. Best pitcher I've ever seen in a Tigers uniform. I hope, but I would not be mad at him, but I hope when it's all said and done, because we know he's already going to the Hall of Fame, I hope he elects to go to the Hall of Fame with the Tigers, but I would not be mad at him since he won 2 World Series with Houston. I would not be mad at that, I think Verlander will do it. I think he'll come as Detroit just because Detroit's what put him on the map, and the no hitters and just some of the crazy games that he was a part of. It's so unfortunate that he was never able to get a World Series with the Tigers, and they came close so many times, but he's at number 3 for me just because when I think of, and another thing too is I talked about Derek Jeter earlier of how you play for the same team your whole career, and I know that Verlander left, but Verlander was a part of that Detroit. He came up through the farm. Yep. I get it. He left. It wasn't by his choice. He was traded out of there because it's the phase that Detroit, was going through at that time. But he played a lot of years there in Detroit and did a lot of really, really cool shit that I think us Tigers fans kind of took for granted because we haven't seen that kind of baseball in years, a decade now. So
yeah. So far, 2Ks, I have no qualms with your list. Number 2.
Number 2, Ken Griffey Jr.
The kid.
The most beautiful swing that I've ever seen in baseball. And just, when you think about like basketball and you go back to the Fab Five, and it was like they made basketball cool. You started wearing the lower shorts. You weren't wearing the short shorts anymore.
Black shoes.
Yeah, the black shoes. When I think of Ken Griffey Jr., that was when baseball became cool. You see the guy out there with a backwards hat on, taking BP and just launching balls into right field.
He still does that.
And yeah, he was just. If it wasn't for the guy on number 1 just being the runaway number 1 for me, Ken Griffey Jr. would be my number 1. I think Ken Griffey Jr. would probably be number 1 on so many guys playing in Major League Baseball today
100%.
On their list if they were to make this list. So, when I think of Ken Griffey, I think of the most beautiful swing that I've ever seen especially left-handed swing, which left-handed swings are way, way better looking than right-handed swings.
Yes. 100%.
And then just how,
except for Freddie Freeman.
And then just how fucking cool he was and carried himself, on the field. And unfortunately, injuries played a huge factor in him. Especially later into his career, because I think he would, numbers-wise, if he was healthy for that entire time, I think some records would have been shattered.
Yes. And Red Sox tied it up, 2-2,
Nice.
going into the bottom of the 8th.
Nice.
And your number 1 baseball player you love to watch 2Ks is?
Number 1 baseball player, easy. Same thing can be said. Injuries played a factor with this guy too, but for about a 7-8 year stretch, there was no hitter in baseball that was even close to him. Another Detroit Tiger, Miguel Cabrera. Final year of his career this year. It's unfortunate that they're not playing the last 4 or 5 years of his, probably longer than that, 6-7 years of his career have just been kind of no meaningful baseball, nothing like that. But in that same time, they stopped playing meaningful baseball when he stopped being able to perform, and it wasn't anything to do with him. It was all injuries. He can't help, and just things that he can't help. So it's been sad to watch them these last few years, but if you go back to when I was in high school and graduating school and going into college and watching the Tigers and Miggy, hit for a triple crown and year in, year out, lead the league in batting average. And there was no cheapies. There was no infield singles coming in there, winning Silver Sluggers and winning MVPs and winning a triple crown for a time being there. And this is another guy, over 3,000 hits. He's cemented himself into the Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah. He will be a Hall of Famer as a Detroit Tiger. There's no doubt about that. That's why he's number 1 on my list. Like you tend to forget. You watch him now, and it's like, man, it's hard to watch him right now. But when you really look back at what he did and what he allowed us to watch and be a part of for a 8-9 year stretch there when he was really healthy and good. You're talking one of the best to ever do it.
Oh, 100%. Well, my top 5 is a little different. Spoiler alert, there is one guy on my list that is on yours, which I think we already talked about. But my number 5 is Bo Jackson. I mean, just the iconic I think it was 1990 scorecard with him, the shoulder pads and the bat. Every kid wanted that card. Every kid wanted that card. And just watching some of the stuff that he did, climb walls like Spider-Man, has a hose for an arm, breaking bats over his knee. I mean, he was that guy.
Another one that it's so unfortunate, but I said it with two of my guys. Injuries.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for injuries, what would Bo Jackson have been?
In either sport.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In either, I mean, we're talking about Shohei and what the stuff that he does, which is almost impossible. But to play two sports and be an all-star and a Pro Bowler in this, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, and now he's like a world-class archer and all this other stuff. So, yeah, Bo Jackson makes my list is number 5. Number 4, Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the, you don't have to be 6'3" and just hit 500-foot home runs to be successful in the major leagues. Won not only an MVP but the Rookie of the Year, couple World Series rings, and he was like tangible. Like he was like us. He was like us.
Just an absolute gamer.
Yeah.
Just
Again, a guy who's always dirty.
Yep.
Always dirty. Always dirty.
Yep.
Number 3. Number 3, I got to say Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones.
I like it.
I mean, we were, growing up in the age that I was, everybody got TBS, so we watched Braves. And that was about the time, Chipper was just coming on the scene when my cousin Scott was playing minor league ball for the Braves. So we always watched to see, if Scott was maybe called up or whatever. And we were, probably some of the best baseball as far as, pitching, just an overall team. One of the greatest stretches of,
how
dominance.
The thing you'll always look at with that group is how they only won one.
Right.
Which they won one.
Yeah.
But it's just like when that group, Chipper being the leader as far, but when you talk about that team, you can't help but think about the pitching, the pitching staff, the Hall of Fame pitchers that you have. You have 3 Hall of Famers that you're going to punch 1, 2, and 3, and in the primes of their careers. That's the thing about it is when you get that, you don't normally get them all in their prime, and they got all 3 of them in the right smack dab in the middle of the prime. And to come away with just one. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm with you. I love that pick. I love Chipper.
And then number 2's got to be Big Papi. I mean, you just talk about electric. On and off the field.
Clutch.
Yes. And smile as big as the whole entire room. First DH is a Hall of Famer as a DH. Right? I mean, deserves it for sure. For sure. And you look at so many of those. If there was no David Ortiz, there's no down 3 coming back against the Yankees.
There's a lot of guys playing baseball today that deserve to give David Ortiz a big hug because 100%. He's made them a lot of money.
Yes.
By making that position relevant, taking away from that position being more of a platoon position where you can get a guy off his feet for a day and not have to play the field, to where David Ortiz made it where you pay guys to go hit you 30, 40 home runs,
And now it's league-wide.
And then not only you find guys and you pay them that amount of money, but longevity. You can let guys play. How long has Nelson Cruz played now into this career?
Still playing.
Because the DH has been able to keep him going. Victor Martinez, how much longer was he able to play baseball just because of the position of DH? We're watching it right now with Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera would have been done years ago with all these injuries if it wasn't for the DH. So there's a lot of people that have David Ortiz, a huge thank you for what he did for just the position of DH.
And I love the way he just talks shit to A-Rod all the time. Love it. And number 1, Griffey. Ken Griffey Jr. Every kid growing up has tried to emulate his swing. And again, smile, the size of the room. Never really any off-field. It was just injuries. And you are 100% right. if he, and most of those injuries were self-inflicted, running into walls, diving. I mean, how many times did he have wrist injuries and ankle injuries?
And I think organizations have learned from players like that, and I say that all the time. You have to, when you get generational players, you have to find ways that what's going to protect them from themselves, because the guys like these guys that are generational players, they're that good for a reason. It's because they work harder than anybody out there. They play harder than anybody out there.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they got to this level. Like, all these guys in the Major League Baseball are talented.
Yeah.
It's the guys that are willing to put in all the work and they're willing to just play with their hair on fire. And when you play like that, you're going to throw your body around. And Ken Griffey Jr. did it. He threw his body around playing center field out there.
Yeah.
And I think when you get a player like that, you need to move him over to left field, move him over to right field, get him out from catcher and let him play first base. Do things that are going to protect them. That way we get to watch these players for longer and at even a higher level.
Yeah.
Imagine Ken Griffey Jr. if he just played left field his entire career. What kind of hitter he would have been, not having to even really worry about the other side of the ball. You go out there and just go play outfield and make some good throws, and at the end of the season have a dozen assists or something crazy like that. But we're not asking you to go rob home runs and jump all over and run everything down and dive all over the place in center field. So, yeah, and we watched it with Tatis. They took him on a shortstop and put him out in a corner outfield spot.
They've got 9 shortstops on the field at one time.
Hands down, I was going to say Acuna, hands down, would be the best center fielder in the Braves, but Michael Harris is pretty damn good as a center fielder. But they move Acuna out of center field because we got to protect him. We got to put him in a corner outfield spot and protect him.
And he has the best arm out of all the outfielders, so you might as well put him in right.
Put him in right, yep.
And we've seen, hell, he's hands down the MVP favorite this year.
Absolutely.
Well, 2K Crew, let us know your top 5 in the comments below, and there will be no show next week. It is Father's Day, and we're actually going to have boots on the ground in Minnesota in 2K's here. Tigers Twins game. Is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. So I do expect some photos, some updates, because you might as well do some recon while you're there, and sample a beverage or two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When Tigers are playing baseball, I'll definitely be drinking. Trust me.
Oh yeah. Well, 2Ks, is there anything any loose ends we need to tie up here, brother?
No, that's everything.
All right. Well, 2K Crew, we'll get you out of here on that. All the dads, have a great Father's Day weekend, and we will see you all the following week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.